Good morning. I'd like to begin the August meeting of the Somerville Tree Protection Board. Our first item is approval of the minutes from our last meeting. Questions?
Move to approve.
All those in favor of the motion say aye. All opposed? That motion, notes are approved. So our first application is from 204 Weber Road in town here. Anybody representing Weber Road?
It's okay.
I guess not. So let's have some discussion about the two pine trees. Thoughts? Two trees to be removed, both leaning, one leaning a little bit toward the neighbors with a questionable top and the other leaning toward the owner's house.
Mr. Chairman, the lien appears to be a phototropic lien. And I didn't see any evidence of anything structurally wrong with it. It's not the most attractive tree in the world. Neither one of the ones that he's requested to be removed are, but I don't see anything structurally wrong with them and consequently no real reason to remove them. Now, if he wanted to have a certified arborist do an aerial inspection and let us know that there's a structural issue, then perhaps that would be admissible, but I don't see a need to remove them, frankly.
Anyone else?
If they were to decide to remove the one that's closest to the fence, there's no way they could do that without damaging the other two that are so very close. And if they took that tree out, it would damage the root system of the two trees.
Well,
But I kind of feel the same way as Dan Bay, but those in the corner by the fence, there's quite a cluster right there, and then maybe getting rid of a tree, I could see that possibly, just to kind of help the others thrive a little bit more, but structurally, that tree I think is fine, and it's kind of one of those, I could go either way with it, but I think the tree on itself is okay. And it probably would be fine staying there. I think it probably needs a little bit more investigation. It looks like the up there towards the top, some of that might have been knocked out through a storm or something years ago, but without having some kind of inspection done up top, it's hard to say if it's kind of any bad effects from that particular break up there.
Let me ask this of David, who has so much more experience with pines than I do. David, with trees of this maturity, if one of that tree was to be, if the tree on the end was to be removed, the one over the fence, when trees are as mature as these are they really, is that really going to help them increase their canopy?
I think so. I mean, looking at it from a forestry perspective, something should have been done. I think it was several trees total. Something should have been done 25 years ago, possibly thinning them out. You could take one or two out, and it really wouldn't hurt. That one tree does look like the terminal bud has been removed, I think, being able to climb the tree, probably during Hugo, and it looks like some of the lateral taken over. Dominant leader. It's looks healthy. It looks like an octopus. It's not that pretty a tree, but I kind of wish this something would have been done 20, 25 years ago.
anything to add?
I'd be okay with the tree on the right being removed just because that structure is improper. The canopy structure is not proper. It's not how a pine tree would normally grow. The other one doesn't really, I don't really see any issues with it from the ground, but the one on the far right side, I would be okay with.
Okay.
I agree.
Any other questions or thoughts? Could I have a motion?
I'd make a motion to approve the far right pine tree that has the improper top and deny the other one.
I'll second that.
Here we have a seconded motion. Any more discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no.
No,
Motion passes. Our next address is 1020 Boundary Street, Somerville. Who is representing Boundary Street?
What do I got there? Was it defense?
I see.
You said who was here to defend?
No, to represent.
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
So we know this is a project that has a history. It was approved some time ago and delayed. And now you're trying to finish it up.
That's correct.
And I understand there were some issues, concerns about the passage of the driveway to the cluster of trees that's being saved, which is nice that that group is being saved. But I'll let the discussion go on that.
Yes,
And-
so SCDOT doesn't there so the little swath to the right there belongs to Mr. Blackwell, which is the property adjacent to us, which is where the shed is there. That's not ours. But anyways, Mr. Blackwell was a town engineer at one time, which is why he has 3 driveways on his property. One of them is over there on Yancey Street. But in my discussions with Mr. Grooms at SCDOT, we originally were going to put the driveway over there, but he said no, because of the curve, we couldn't put it there. We had to put it over. And I put it the only place that I could put it. So that kind of dictated basically the whole layout of the site with the building and the parking spaces, which, as you're aware, based on the use, you have to have so many parking spaces, and the size of the building is based on the economy, right? Just basically a business decision on what would be profitable from a building, just like Mr. Blackwell's buildings.
Mhm.
So although it seems like we have a lot of freedom when we do site layout, the reality is it's extremely constrained process. There's so many constraints to meet that it's difficult to meet them all. So you do the best you can. Handicap parking, drainage, all that kind of
Oh, the drainage is super important, yes. Any discussion, questions, thoughts about the layout with respect to the trees that are being saved?
I think there was some issues about the, how the water was going to drain on the property. Is it going to affect the trees that are going to be remaining?
No. So basically in that driveway on the upper right, there's a V that basically is going to channel the water to the bottom right, which is where it currently exits based on topography. Down there where the handicap spaces are, so this property is small enough that it's not really, it's 0.44 acres. So it's less than a half an acre. So in reality, we don't have to do anything, but we are going to put in gutter wells. So what we got is we have gutters off the building, which will actually collect the water because that's the only impervious surface. All the rest of it is gravel. So it's going to collect that water and we're going to put a trench with some pipe in it to collect that. They're called gutter wells. And then again, the excess from that box will be, I forget, I drew it out. It's like 18 feet by 12 feet by 3 feet deep. And it'll have 2 24-inch diameter pipes in it, because when you put gravel in the rock, you lose 60% in the hole. You lose 60% of your space because of the rock. So you only get 40% volume. So to increase that volume, you put in hollow pipes, kind of French drain pipes with holes in them. So that increases the volume of the box so that it can hold more water. So the gutter wells will run to that box. A good portion of it will seep into the groundwater. The 100-year rain, there'll be a little bit of overflow, and it will flow again, a little V in the grading to that bottom right corner.
And also, I think there was some concerns about making sure we have the proper, tree protection up for those trees that are gonna be remaining. I know there'll be some construction nearby, but
There's details on the drawing about the town changed. I've been doing this a little while, so we've changed our tree protection. And so we have the updated tree protection that the town, every municipality I deal with has a different tree protection scheme. So we have their scheme on the town scheme on our drawings, and it should be okay. This is a small construction, so
Right.
it's easier for the contractor, us to observe, unlike say the 57 acres over
Mhm.
across from Palmetto Armory.
Yes.
Right.
one last question, just utilities that will be coming in, how, is that gonna be overhead, underground, or?
So the power will come up from behind Mr. Blackwell's building and come around. Um, uh, we prefer to do it overhead, although in the town UDO, it says everything has to be underground. So I guess that's a little discussion. But regardless, it will come on the upper right. The two is kind of an interesting water supplies from CPW, and it runs along Yancey Street because it goes down to the public buildings down there. It turns out that the sewage or the wastewater is actually owned by the town, unbeknownst to them, and it's a forced main. So we actually have to put a little pump on the back side of the building because you can't connect to a force main with a gravity main. So we're actually going to have to pump that. And actually the town, Bonnie's going to have to approve that because they own that. They didn't know they owned that, but they do. So kind of an interesting story there. Paul Harvey story.
You said you can't connect, what, for what?
We can connect. We just have to, unlike a house with a gravity feed, I've got to put a little pump because the town line, the main line for sewage is pressurized,
Okay, it's pressurized, okay.
right? So it's a forced main.
Yeah, you gotta
So we have to
compete with that.
pump ours. We got to get the pressure up on ours to match the force main.
Wow, that's an extra cost, isn't it?
A lot of stuff going on in this little project.
Yeah. On any of them,
Yeah,
sure.
I agree.
Any other thoughts, concerns?
Yep.
DRB approved this before. I think there was still a question of if y'all were gonna do rollouts or dumpster.
Yeah, we're going to do rollouts. I took the dumpster off the original. Yeah. So we're going to do rollouts based on what came out of that. Yes. Because we only have 2 tenants. So
Under the gravel parking lot, will there be a base or is it just gravel on soil?
no, it'll be a base, 6-inch sand, and then usually about 4 inches, 3 inches compacted gravel, 57 stone or something like that. Yeah. So yeah, there's a base there. Very permeable.
Any other thoughts? Then could I have a motion?
I move to approve as submitted.
A second.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Thank you.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Next is, I don't know the number, but I know it's just at the very end of Old Trolley Road. But y'all know. We are.
Good
Morning.
morning. I'm Trey Litton with Forsberg Engineering, civil engineer on the project. Morning, Major Figueroa. He's civil engineer as well. We have our arborist.
Yeah, I'm Jessica Hidson, and I did the tree health and assessment report on the site.
Okay. What status does this have now, Becca?
They went before the design review board. Right. They went before the design review board last month or the month before. So currently they just have conceptual feedback from the design review board. And typically before DRB can grant preliminary approval, we like for them to come before the tree protection board to get feedback from y'all as well. Because that can influence how they adjust their design as they go through the development process.
Okay,
While we were on the site, we talked a little bit about some additional information. Were you able to get any of those distances that we
Yes, sir.
requested?
I don't know if Justin was able to, I sent that on Friday. He sent that to y'all and provided to y'all.
We didn't see it. He's out of town right now, so maybe he didn't
I have a
cross
few
paths.
extra here.
Yeah, we have copies if you would like
That'd be
that.
great.
Is this on encroachment of trees or what was that?
Yeah, it was for, how close some of the structures and the disturbance was gonna be to the actual tree. Um,
What we did on it is located the drip lines based off the feedback that y'all gave us. So if you see the bubble line that's around the grand trees, you'll notice that that's the drip line that was located out in the field. We also provided dimensions between building 5 and building 4. I believe that was one of the things that was requested.
Yeah.
And we further dimensioned the 26-inch oak behind building 1 as far as the
Originally it was 49 feet. I shifted the building 5, 3 foot to the right, and then building 4, 1 foot to the left.
All right, so we have. What about the distance off of the back of the buildings to the 26-inch live oak? That was pretty much on the wetland buffer. Were you able to pull a measurement approximately off the back of the building to where that trunk would be?
Yeah, so it is 7 feet. It's in red. The call outs. You want to?
Oh, I see it over here.
Where do you see it?
Did you say 7 or 12?
7 from the back of the stem wall, 7 feet.
It's 7
Okay.
feet on the retaining wall.
That's what's on the screen. No, it's not.
Is that what we're looking at?
So it's got 12 feet here.
Yeah, see, it's not on the same thing there, but it's
All right, so my initial reaction would be that you guys are way too close to those live oaks for me to be comfortable with disturbance and root activity. You're already losing a bunch of live oaks on that property, which is disturbing. The long-term health and survivability of a live oak like these specimens is gonna be what's in the forefront of my mind. And just looking at this plan, you're gonna destroy a significant amount of root structure. Even if your calculations look like you're in a minimal space of disturbance, your actuals are gonna be a little bit more than what, the canopy line versus, the percentage of disturbance in the
Right.
canopy line actually shows. The realistic root construction processes is that a significant portion of those root systems are going to be destroyed and those trees are going to suffer for it. So that's my initial reaction. Does anybody else have, what do you guys think?
Well, I didn't visit the site. I'm only trying to read between the lines, but it almost seems these are captive. Live oaks are just captives, with destruction getting pretty close. And the drip line concept is nice, but, and I agree with what you're saying, is that this live oak is gonna send roots all over creation. You can't accommodate every last one of them. The distance is going to be greater than simply drip line, particularly the older they get. So I would be concerned about that. Like I said, I didn't visualize this. It's hard to me to see what's going on for sure.
Is it possible that we could go through, I mean, there's like 4 or 5 oak trees that we're, talking about the
through one
drip
at a time.
lines. Like for instance, between building 4 and 5, I know you had,
Sure.
concerns about the distance. We did provide, more distance between those 2 buildings, but at third distance you're looking to achieve that we can get to.
Yeah, so if we're looking, you got a 53-foot spread there between those 2 buildings with the large, can't read it on here, 20 plus DBH oak in between them. So you got 25 feet approximately between, 25 on one side, 19 feet on the other. I mean, that's just tight. That is really tight. That's just to the outside of the building also.
Right.
So you're gonna have disturbance on an additional 10 feet that's gonna kill the roots.
Just equipment traffic.
equipment
Right.
traffic from compaction, any sort of grading that you're gonna do to prep the site and prep the pad, you're gonna get into the root system a little bit heavier than what the plans actually show. So you're gonna need more space in there to protect those trees, at least to protect them in a responsible way, which is just forefront in my mind. You're definitely gonna need so with additional space, you're also gonna need a tree protection plan, which I'm sure your arborist can provide.
No, I think we agree. We want to, if we need to, provide more separation between those buildings, we want to save those oak trees. Based on the arborist report, we know those are the oak trees that are healthy, and they're vibrant and they'll add to the community. For instance, behind building 2, we've got the 2 large oak trees. We're looking at doing some sort of passive park back there to incorporate those oak trees. So obviously keeping those there long-term is in our best interest.
So with that one, my recommendation would be identifying that drip line and making that an LOD, a hard limit of disturbance. So a true tree protect, you protect your entire canopy trip line, and stay 20 feet off of a trunk. So combine those two things and you're gonna be in really good shape and the tree is gonna be in really good shape. So if the canopy line because sometimes a live oak on one side will have way less canopy, and then you'd be like, oh, the drip line's only 10 feet off the trunk here. We can get real close. Not really. Let's back off of that a little bit more.
Okay. One thing when we met with the Architectural Review Board, they asked about adding visitor parking. And we were trying to stay out of those tree protection areas and those 2 locations. They mentioned pervious pavers or, gravel to have less impact on the tree. But based off what I'm hearing, you're probably saying like, no, it's best not to show any parking in those tree protection areas. Okay.
Right.
It would be much preferable for the tree. Yeah. You could come into it on some of them, but it's really going to be very tree specific. I'd be hesitant to give any sort of dimensions, and it would have to be staked out on the site and reviewed to see what the actual disturbance is gonna look like on site.
Now, also that tree in between the buildings there, those building pads, y'all gonna have to lift those up, I would imagine, as far as the grade and everything. How much higher is that gonna be than where that tree is right
So
now?
yeah, if you look around that tree right now, we show like a U. And we're gonna show a that's those distances that you see, the 19 feet and the 25 feet.
Yeah.
That is a retaining wall because there's gonna be about 2 to 3 feet difference in grade right between the building pad and the elevation of that tree.
Right.
So you're gonna have to deal with some additional drainage system to keep water from sitting on that tree
Oh,
now.
that's right.
Whenever you put a well in, the tree wells, and you've had a lot more experience with this than I do. You want to speak?
No,
I
just,
don't even want to go there.
but if you create a wall, a retaining wall that you're discussing, and essentially that just becomes a well and it collects water. And it can reduce the tree's ability to take up oxygen. So you should try to find a way to move that water off of the well without damaging the root zone that you're trying to protect.
I totally agree. And that's why if you look at it, it's a U shape and it's open on the low side. So that, from the retaining wall side to the wetland side, it can drain in that direction. And we're not impeding that flow to allow that water to get out of that retained area.
Is there currently natural grade that runs off there?
Yes, it naturally runs from where that tree well retaining wall is towards Plainview North, where the wetlands are.
Oh, you looked at, yeah.
It would probably be a good idea to have an additional drainage system on the inside of that wall running to the wetland, wouldn't you think?
Without question, anything you can do to move the water, I think would be
Okay.
is going to be helpful. you know, and just adding on to that, whenever you get to these points where you're going to be working so close to the root zones of these trees with excavation, it'd be great to get your arborist on site and let her advise, or, you know, let's back off here 5 feet and we can come in here. That's just really a big plus to have the arborist on site. And I don't know if that's in your plans, but it's something I would certainly consider.
No, that's something we've done that on other projects before where we've dictated to the general contractor that, you know, in dealing with the grand trees, that they need to have an arborist on site. So,
Okay.
Again, I have no problem putting that on our plans, that the arborist must be on site, when the tree protection is installed and any grading work is occurring.
Right.
Around those areas.
Wonderful. Thank you.
There's some treatments that you could spec also that are, you can get ahead of it before, 6 months prior to any root disturbance. You could do a treatment plan with a TGR treatment, coupled with a light, no nitrogen fertilization as well. And that'll help out with the hormone transfers through the construction process. Yeah, she's shaking her head. She knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm following.
Okay.
I will say these trees that they are impacting, are in pretty good condition, and I know that live oaks are pretty hardy trees. So, and I know that they have been doing a really good job trying to protect them. So, anything that we can do to make this plan work would be great.
What about the, excuse me,
Go ahead.
the live oak there, between the retention pond and the building? How close is that retention pond to the trunk of the tree there? And then you're gonna have to dig that out.
That's 7 feet.
Okay,
Hmm.
and it's pretty,
That area right there, if you look at the bottom of the, what we're calling a pond, that is really a compensatory storage area for stormwater.
okay.
It's actually not addressing our runoff from the site. So, we have runoff from the site that's actually gonna be directed to underground retention. That's gonna be in the drive aisles. This is called compensatory storage. Town of Somerville has a requirement, if you bring any fill on the site, that you have to offset it, with storage, to address the fill.
Uh-huh.
So this is not gonna be like a detention pond per se. It's a storage area for the wetland area. If it were to overflow, that it could go into this compensatory storage area and then go back out.
It's also on that sheet there. Also in that package, C401 is the grading and drainage plan as well, so y'all can see it.
One thing we discussed with the owner and, where the drive aisle location is coming off Trolley Road, it would be possible to, shift out another, we're restricted with the 42-inch oak on the right side, but it's possible that we can make an adjustment in the drive aisle, get building one further away from the tree.
Okay,
Yeah, that'd be pretty beneficial. Right now, you're really, what is it? Is that, am I reading it right? That you're about 7 feet off of the back of the building to the trunk of the tree?
It's 12 feet from the building and then 7 feet from a retaining wall back there. So the plan was to put a retaining wall on the backside of the building, so we don't have grade back there. There's more like a retaining wall to keep the grade around the tree the same as it is currently. So that retaining wall, yes, is 7 feet from the base of that tree.
Would that have to be a structural retaining wall? It would be, right?
Yeah, it would be.
Within 5 feet of the building, so
Yeah.
it'd have to have a pretty solid foundation on it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know how much room you have to shift there to give that tree more room, but I would love to see more room there.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
We did skip over the one behind building 4. Guys want to go through each tree one by one? the oak behind number 4 again. Where your grade change is gonna be right near the trunk of the tree.
Hmm.
It's gonna be really close there as well.
So, yeah, what we could do there is, right now, we're showing about a 10-foot shoulder from the back of the building 4. If you look at our grading plan, then the contours start to grade down. What we could look at doing is, tightening that shoulder up so that we don't provide 10 feet of flat earth, surface area before grading back down, maybe grading down sooner, around that tree so that we don't have fill around that, close to that base of that tree.
And it's gonna be a 4-foot slope.
We have 3-1-1, 3-1 slope, once you see the contours,
3 to 1.
Hmm.
I've got a question. So this current plan doesn't address the additional visitor parking spots that you're being required to put in, or it does?
It does.
It does.
It does, but right now they're shown in the,
Okay.
so we would, have to look for a different location. of this department.
Do y'all have a landscape plan to go with this yet?
We don't have a landscape plan currently, but we do have a landscape architect that's, now on board, and, the plan is for them to be engaged for the next submittals that, we
Mhm.
make to the town.
Okay. Hopefully we can see those.
Oh, of course,
if
yeah.
we Get to that point.
I had asked when we met in the field to gain a better understanding of how the water is going to sheet on this site. And specifically, I'm concerned about sheeting into the wetlands. And because that wetland, I'm sure would, will eventually drain into the Ashley River, which has some degree of pollution in that part of the river already.
Hmm.
And I have a concern about sheeting off fertilizers, dog droppings, all that sort of stuff you're concerned about with that. Are you all addressing that at all?
Yes, so, with the town of Somerville and, SCDES, we're required to address water quantity and water quality. So this project will be addressing both through an underground detention system.
Okay.
So the underground detention system is actually gonna be in the drive aisle, the 2 drive aisles. And you mentioned sheet flow, so the buildings themselves and the parking areas and the drive aisles, all of that runoff will be collected and piped to the underground detention system. The underground detention system is a chamber system that can allow for infiltration, but also provide storage. And the ultimate discharge for that will go through a water quality device, which is called manufacturer treatment device, which then picks up the oils and sediments, which carry the pollutants, to treat that stormwater runoff before going in areas.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
I've always wondered about them. That's gotta be a maintenance item over time.
Yeah.
And
So, what the developer will have to do is they'll have to, it's called a covenants of permanent maintenance.
Okay.
And the town of Somerville requires the developer, to sign the covenants of permanent maintenance to essentially state, as you noted, that, every year the system needs to be checked to ensure that it's not full of dirt. The manufactured treatment device, again, over time, it's collecting sediment.
But it's doing its job,
Yeah,
but so it's not going anywhere, so you gotta deal with it.
so those covenants are actually recorded at the county ROD office. And they bind the developer and future owners to maintain those systems, over time, to ensure that, one, quantity is still being achieved and quality is still being achieved, water quality treatment.
Is that monitored, for instance, by annual or biannual checks, verification that is actually done?
Town has stormwater inspectors. How frequently, I know they're at the site much more frequently during construction.
Hmm,
Because during construction is when the site's not stabilized, and that's when, you know, those pollutants can get downstream much easier.
Sure.
I know they're on site. I'm not sure if it's weekly or monthly. But after construction, I think it's much less periodic. It might be yearly.
I just wonder, but the town of Somerville is not going to be doing the verification though, are they? Does the owner have to
No,
provide?
So the owner has to, they'll have to inspect the system itself. But the town of Somerville does have stormwater inspectors.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Will the owner have to record this? Is there an obligation to record to prove that you actually did the check and cleaning?
I don't know if there's an obligation to record that. I think it's just, they have to get the covenants recorded, basically stating that they are responsible
Right.
for and will maintain this system. So if there is ever an issue in the future, the owner is held responsible because they signed those documents stating that they will be responsible.
What was could you give me the term for that covenant again, please?
It's called covenants of permanent maintenance.
Thank you. Good work. I hear you suggesting that actual physical staking out from the pre-protection for us to look at again. That's always been a concern of mine as well, even just building footprint, never mind showing the pre-protection. If we were asked to demonstrate with flags and stakes and everything, the pre-protection boundaries, is that a reasonable thing we could ask you to do?
Sure. When you're asking for stakeout, do you want the buildings staked out, or do you want the tree protection areas staked
It
out?
was just the tree protection you were concerned. Yes, tree protection. Yeah, because you've taken care of, there's not much out there except these very big oaks. And so the principle is to observe exactly where the disruption is going to go and not go. Sure.
Yeah, so show the tree protection, framework of it, and on the plans, it should be represented that it's a true limits of disturbance. So you have to account, all the construction plans need to take that into account, that that's a hard line, it's a fixed line. We're not just gonna show on the plan that the building's right up to the tree protection, but we all really know that there's gonna be grading and disturbance that's an additional such and such amount of feet. Yeah.
Okay. So anything else? Anybody? We appreciate the time and dealing with these very specific questions, but this is the way we feel, and this is a major disruption, major potential for, as Danny was pointing out, with water pollution and all the rest of that, with the Ashley River. A number of us involved with other organizations dealing with trying to keep the Ashley River clean or cleaner. So we appreciate that. Then I would make a motion that we defer judgment on the tree situation on this property until we see the plan as well as the staked out location of the tree protection for the major trees.
A second.
Second.
All those in favor of the motion say aye. All opposed. Motion passes. We'll be seeing you again. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys.
Two. Lastly, we have 111 Waring Street.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm Eric Epstein of Epstein Architecture. I'm joined by George Leidmuller of OSD Landscape Architecture, who's our landscape architect and certified arborist. And we are excited to be working with St. Paul's Church here in Somerville. It's a very important project for everyone, for the church and for the community. We saw the Board of Architectural Review Board just recently, and excited to report that we received unanimous approval for concept design and picked up some compliments along the way about our design. So we're very encouraged about the project. We're here today to ask for permission to remove several trees. I'll let George give you the details about that, but just a quick overview. So the St. Paul's Church is a campus of 9.6 acres, very large campus. There are lots of existing beautiful trees. Our project is really concerned with just 1 acre, and it's really where the old Scarden Hall building currently is. So the project involves a new building replacing Scarden Hall. It's called the Ministry Center. You'll see that there in the sort of gray post shade area there. And I think that's let's see, Becca, if you is there the next slide, or we have the survey? Oh, okay, great. And we also have a full survey of the site, including an inventory of all the trees. So I'll hand it over to George and talk about the individual trees that would be affected. Again, we're trying to limit the amount of disturbance there, but the building does need to go in, and there's a certain amount of room that's needed for construction work, and as you can imagine, the equipment that's going to go in there. So thank you, George.
Thanks, Eric. Good morning. As Eric mentioned, I'm George of Outdoor Spatial Design. Nice to see you all. It's been maybe a year or two since I've been here.
I remember.
Yeah. We did some walking through the woods at some
Yes.
townhome project.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about the overall site and the trees in general, and then we can go through tree by tree and look at each removal. So here on the site survey, as Eric mentioned, it's a large campus. We have, could you go to the next slide, please? We have a kind of a breakdown of,
I think you had an inventory of all.
yeah, it's on sheet 48. So the last slide has a total breakdown. We're on 49 right now. If we could go back to 48, zoomed out, please. There you go. So total site, we have 318 trees located across the campus. That is made up of 83 oak trees. Most of those are live oaks, 56 pines, 54 mostly southern magnolias. And, you know, we also have some crepe myrtles, sweet gums, and cedars, and then kind of a smattering of other trees. But on the next slide, I have some pictures of what some of the typical, the nicer trees on site look like. So we have a lot of very mature live oaks. We have some really nice, healthy southern magnolias. That one in the center has a really nice central leaf. And then the red cedars have a lot of character and really contribute to the aesthetics of the site. The good news is we're not proposing to remove any trees like that. Most of ours are pines, sweet gums, and a few crepe myrtles, really trying to be conservative with maintaining the beauty of the campus and only removing trees that, you know, we thought would be disturbed detrimentally by construction, and preserving all of the other trees that you see here. Next slide, please. As Eric mentioned, this is our project area. So now we're zooming in a little bit. This is the footprint of the existing building. But I wanted to show you this slide so that you could see the existing trees in relationship with the existing building. And then I believe on the next slide, we outline the proposed, one more. Yeah, so this is the proposed footprint versus the existing footprint. The proposed is shown in green. So obviously there are a few trees that are in the footprint of our new building. Tree 272, 271, 270. Those are 2 pines and a cedar, which need to go to meet the needs of the church to have some more square footage. The other trees that we are looking to remove are just a little too close for us to think that they would be healthy. We're keeping all of the trees on the right side of that existing path. You know, some of those are pretty close to the building. There's an existing building there though, and that's basically where our limit of disturbance is. We're not going to be doing anything on the plan right side of that walkway. And then the other trees in the front, we do have some underground stormwater detention. Most of that is going to be on the left in kind of the more open field, but some of it might be on the right side of that path as well. So that was a consideration. And then in the front, we have sort of like a courtyard and entry. So we can go through them individually. There's 14 total that we are proposing to remove. Those 14 are shown on this slide with red dots at each one. And then as an overview of what we're looking at, it's mostly crepe myrtles. There's 5 crepes, 3 pines, 2 sweet gums, 2 water oaks, 1 cedar, and 1 elm. Next slide, please. And I'll just go one by one. Feel free if we want to stop at any of them. We can look, happy to look at them now. But we started at the front of the building where we have an entry courtyard. There's tree 300 and 302. 300 is a sweet gum. As you all know, you know, sweet gums can be a little bit weak wooded and messier trees. I still like them. I know that they add value to the landscape, but when you look at all of the trees on site, you know, we're more interested in preserving live oaks and southern magnolias and cedars and trees that are a little bit tougher and a little bit longer lived than trees like the sweet gum. And also it's where we would like to do kind of an entry courtyard. Eric can talk about the vision for the architecture, but we do have some hardscape kind of welcoming you to that entrance of the building. This sweet gum here is shown in the center of that photograph, and then there's a small elm directly behind it. And you can see, you know, it's not the most beautiful sweet gum. It does have a central leader, but the lateral branches are you know, looks like maybe there's been some storm damage in the past. Water sprouts that have now become large branches. So not really a specimen sweet gum. I graded it a C, and then the elm as a B. Next, please. These are the 3 that I mentioned that are in the new footprint. They are 2 pines, and then in the center of the 2 pines is a smaller cedar. They're pretty typical of pine trees. That they're healthy. The reason for removal is just that they're in our footprint. And then there they are. Next.
Wait. Okay.
There's a water oak that is right next to an existing pathway. It's not in our footprint, but it's close, and it's not a great tree. It's a water oak.
What was the grade on that tree?
I graded it a C. It's had a top blown out at some point.
Okay.
Comments?
I don't think they're necessary.
In the side of the building on the plan north side, we also have a water oak and a pine tree that we discussed with the last project. I think, you know, they are outside the footprint, but with disturbances and compaction and construction equipment, you know, we wanted to preserve the trees that are a bit further away, and those were a little close to our building.
Could you back up just a minute? So you're recognizing the effect of adjacency of equipment and the disturbance, even if it's not in the footprint. I'm looking at this walkway, which is a an asphalt or concrete walkway to the right-hand side of the building.
Yeah.
As I look at it, and boy, that's not a lot of room. That you can't work on the other side of that walkway. Everything to the right you said is being saved. That's an incredibly small amount of room to be able to maneuver equipment around what's necessary to be done on the outside of a footprint, but I guess that's y'all's problem. If you're not going on the other side of the walk, that's pretty tight.
It is very tight. Luckily, we maintained a healthy amount of space between the children's building, which is on the left. So we have a good 30 feet plus there
Hmm.
to swing the equipment around there. We'll also have access from the drop-off drive near door hall and children's building to get equipment in there. Yeah, it's a little tight.
Yeah, that's all I wanted.
We're trying to save as much as we
What-
can, yeah.
Eric, what is the, what's the LOD gonna look like on that side? To protect not only those trees, but there's the cemetery comes right up against that walkway, does it not? Pretty close to it at least.
It is tight. We're trying to, because the cemetery is to the right, to the east of that walkway. We obviously
Can't dig up grandma.
That would not go over so well.
No.
There's a cemetery protection board somewhere, probably.
No doubt.
So clearly we need to be very careful there, and it's gonna be very surgical. I mean, basically our walkway
Yeah.
is the edge of disturbance. And we're gonna do everything we can to, there's gonna be a fence there, basically. That's a no-fly zone, remember, so.
Yeah.
I just wanted to recognize that because I just envision how tight that is and what really has to happen to build a building.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
Any idea the building pad again, what kind of elevation it's gonna have when they have to bring in fill or anything like that to build the building itself? Do we know how much fill's gonna have to be brought in for that?
Well, we don't have that yet. We don't have it calculated. The site does slope a bit.
Mhm.
So similar to what they did with the children's building, which is on the left, which also has a sloping site. So it slopes down toward Waring Street.
Right.
So there's several feet that it slopes. So the building is set, the first floor is set about midway between the upper slope and the lower slope. So there's a little bit of cut and fill that may need to happen there. If that answers your
Yeah.
question, eventually we will have exact numbers and all of that, yeah.
That's fine.
What is the distance off of the front of the building to number 288? That pine tree?
288, that's the closest one there. I'm guessing about 10 feet maybe.
Where's 288?
It's this one here.
Oh, okay.
That's that 21-inch water oak.
Was that the water oak or was that the pine?
288 is a water oak. 287 is the pine.
Okay.
I couldn't read that
Which
number.
way is that pine tree leaning?
Excuse me.
Could we see if I have a picture of that pine tree? It should be on the next slide. It's pretty straight up. It's a bit of a lion's tail. There's really are no like lower branches. The canopy is quite high. A little bit bigger of a risk for, snapping in a wind event, but not really much lean.
Bless you.
Yeah.
Joe, it was-
No, it was weird. It was a vibration.
So where are we, Becca, where is where is this project at? You said you just got approved conceptual?
They got approved for the conceptual removal of Scarden Hall. And with the condition that they got final approval for the building.
And we also have approval, unanimous approval for the concept design.
Of the new building?
Yeah. As you see.
They technically don't issue conceptual approval, but, the. Instead of the letter.
Yeah.
Typically, there's like a certificate of approval that's issued from the VAR, but because this project is large, I think there's been discussion of, that there might be some workshops with the VAR. At this point.
That's, no, I think it was mentioned in the letter, but that's not what we heard from the board.
All right, so you got conceptual for removal of Scarden though.
Yes.
Still need to get final approval for the new building. Honestly, the only tree in the removal ask, there's two trees that I would question. Is the large pine, 287. I think that one might be far enough away from the new building to qualify for tree protection. It is a healthy pine. The other question I would have, and I can't remember if it's 271 or 72 or 70, but there is a nice cedar tree in there. Has anybody looked into the possibility of relocating that tree and saving it?
Yeah, 271 is the cedar in the center.
It's in between
of
the pine and the
pines.
water oak, I think.
Yeah, it's not a
Okay.
huge cedar. Maybe you could get like a tree spade in there. We could look into that.
How tall is that?
It's tall, it's a little bit skinny, but it is healthy.
Yeah,
And we are losing, there's two really nice pines over there also. But yeah, I would look for, from an early point of view here, is there any give and take? Like, what can we do to work around and maybe save more, save something that's worth saving? Before we gave,
right, well,
Yeah, I mean, as we mentioned, like 318 trees on site. It's a lot of it is pretty heavily
big site.
Forested. So to me, it didn't seem like, we really need a tree over here. Could we move that cedar over there? We could look into it. I should mention, because you mentioned looking at if there's anything worth preserving. There's a beautiful Japanese maple tree, 301, that we're basically part of the reason the shape of the building is to preserve that tree. We were thinking about transplanting that. I really didn't want to.
Yeah.
So we're basically like centering a new courtyard around that tree.
Yeah.
But we could talk to the owners about, trying to transplant one. That cedar would be fine, I think.
Just for clarification, the big pine was 287 or 288?
87.
287.
yeah.
See,
And-
that tree with protection, I think anything else could be removed around it really without affecting it. And it's so tall and the crown is already sort of growing by itself now. So I think as far as it being left alone, it wouldn't affect the tree.
Right.
Yeah.
I had another question about 287 as well. Those two trees were not necessarily the distance from the footprint that was the reason for their removal, but it was the potential or the, in fact, encroachment by the underground retention system.
Right.
Is that a certainty or could maybe,
Things are looking a little bit better now. We have a little bit more accurate calculations on the detention system. We are encouraged to see that we may not need as much on the east side.
Mhm.
So in terms of saving, just in terms of the quality of those two trees, so 288 and 287, which one is actually, 288 may be default, just to say.
I think 287 is the larger, right?
88 is the water oak, if I remember, right?
Yeah, the pine tree you're correct.
Yeah.
The canopy is above the water oak.
Oh,
Yeah.
The closer one is the water oak.
It'd be nice to know that maybe we could get that left.
If we could say that we will, the 287,
Uh,
87,
Right,
Mhm.
but is that the
Pine.
the lower that's the pine, or is that
It's a
the?
pine, yeah.
Okay.
The only thing wrong with it, which is not really wrong, is just that it has a very high canopy, so.
Yeah, live crown ratio isn't great.
Hmm.
The live crown ratio isn't great.
Right.
What tree is 289? Excuse me, 289.
Well, we hadn't gotten to it yet.
Okay, all right, still
Uh,
making our
we
way
were
around. I
almost-
got you.
We were wrapping up. We just had that one and then a couple of crepe myrtles.
Okay.
Where did we leave off? Did we leave off on these two in the front?
Mhm.
Yep, we were on them. I believe 289 is the next one. 284 was it was a sweet gum. Graded it a C. I think part of the thinking on that was if we're going to be doing work in that area and we're removing other trees, you know, that one might be a candidate for removal, being a sweet gum. I think what we're talking about now, we could look into saving that one as well, especially if we don't need underground detention there.
Mhm.
It's in an existing wooded area, but I feel like potentially we could keep that one as well.
What was the reason for a seat on that?
Just the poor live crown ratio, deadwood being a sweet gum. It could be a B. Could agree with that too.
All right. Is there one more?
Yes,
There's a few more. This is the last one.
289.
289. Is a crepe myrtle, kind of right on the edge of the parking lot. I don't really know that it adds much to the site. And the same with these. We're gonna have a new kind of side entry over here, and tearing out some of that existing hardscape and coming in with new pathways. And the crepe myrtles are just like right on, inches off of the existing pathway. There should be a picture of one of them. Yeah. So that is all of them now.
Okay. Lots to cover, lots of questions. Any more thoughts? Any-
I don't have any more thoughts.
Okay.
I'm done.
Well, thank you for your time. I hesitate to make a motion to approve removal, but I don't know that there's much in the way. Unless the fact that there are some questions like 287. We can request now that they be say, we can't request it because you don't know the scope of the need for your detention. That's the only thing outstanding to me. And then the question about perhaps moving the cedar tree. Those are the only outstanding issues, as I recall, right?
Yeah, I think that, I would make a motion to defer, approval to, get a determination on is the detention going to affect those front trees, and what can we save out of them? Can we, come up with a plan to move the cedar tree, save the pine on 287?
Mhm.
And, a little bit further along in the process. Most of the other ones, I don't know that anybody's gonna have a problem
I
with.
don't,
Could we receive approval for everything except the 87 and 87, 84, pending, final detention design.
Is it worth it? Are you guys gonna start demoing ahead of time?
I mean, we are looking to proceed with construction documents, after we see, you know, the other meeting that we
DRB.
have, BZA, and, yeah.
Well, again, those are the only concerns expressed here. And the best way to word that is, put a big if in there or to defer.
Danny, what do you
What do you
over
think,
there?
Ben?
I'm thinking. I almost would rather. We looked at this one time. And had this, but we didn't have the advantage of having the landscape architect or the architect there to interpret as we're walking the site, and maybe that's not necessary, but it would sure help me to understand why many of these trees need to be removed. And so
Why, which
that would
one?
just be beneficial to me.
Which ones?
The whole site. I mean, you know, I think he could walk that in an hour and have a better understanding, but if we need to render a vote today, I can vote. I could better understand why there's a need to remove these trees if I was there and on site with one of the designers and they explain why it has to be removed and why it can't be worked around.
Are you mostly worried about the ones in the front, the 288, 87, 84?
Yeah,
89?
yeah, for the most part.
Yeah, the footprint, I don't see a lot of options for the footprint. Unfortunately, for those within the footprint.
Unless they made the building a lot smaller.
Yeah, right.
Well, I mean, if
Functionally doesn't,
you know, if they're still waiting for further approvals, then, I mean, that's kind of my thinking, that if we give approval to remove this and another board says, well, no, that doesn't work, then we've removed trees that shouldn't have been removed. And I'm sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, me too.
well, if another board does not approve the project, then it doesn't move forward anyway. So there's no risk to you. It would seem that the only question, if I'm hearing correctly, is 287, 284, and possibly a request to relocate to 71, right?
Right.
And if we could receive, if you can imagine, we have a full team of consultants, we have people sitting and waiting to move forward on full design of this. It would certainly help us and the church to be able to, and this seems as no question on everything else. So if there could be an approval granted for everything else, that would give us the confidence to and the ability to move forward with the rest. We can work with 287 and 284. I'm pretty sure, I may be speaking a little bit out of school here, but I'm pretty sure we can keep the detention over to the left side and try to save those trees. And if we need removal later, we can come back to you with those and request that. 271, I can't really speak to the ability to relocate the tree and how successful that would be. That would be for
Yeah,
George.
I mean, we usually tell people like transplanted trees, maybe a 50% chance of survival. A lot of times it's cheaper to just plant a new tree. Contractor's not going to warranty transplanting a tree. So a lot of our clients don't really want to invest money in something where you might have a better result just planting a new tree. But it's a nice cedar, and if one of the conditions of approval was to please study if that could be transplanted, happy to do that.
Do you know how close that tree is to the other pine tree that's closest to it? Is that space even enough room to get a spade truck into it is what I'm asking?
Would be tight. Yeah, and you know, all those roots are all gonna be
Mhm.
kind of intertwined.
Yeah.
I think if you start digging to get the cedar out, you're gonna be hitting large pine roots. It'd be a tricky transplant.
It's possible. Can we do is it even, are we allowed to do a conditional approval too on the approval of the rest of the building so that we don't have the worry that we're approving something and then the trees are removed if construction never happens? I think that would help assuage.
I mean, it's all just in the way you word it. If you want, y'all want to see them back again, or is this something where maybe they come back, maybe they don't?
Well, the only reason we would want to do that is, again, I won't get into the discussion about moving the cedar. There's a lot of pluses and minuses to that, but for 287 and 284, that's the only hangup, and it's a question whether they're even going to need to be removed.
The size in order for them to submit for preliminary approval from the VAR, they would need to provide a utility plan, landscaping plan, there's list. So I mean, at that point, you would have that information, and they could provide it to y'all. Cause that's the next step. in the
Right.
Development process. So
Is there an estimate on the amount of time these other meetings would take to occur?
I mean, it depends on where they are in development. But again, for them to go through the next step of the VAR process, they have to have, you know, their grading plan, their utility plan, all of that information, which it sounds like that is really the concern there, just with those couple of trees in the front. So at that point, they would have that information, they can ask you all of that, yes or no.
Well, I'm just trying to see if there's a possible way to avoid deferring, but I don't see how that there really is. And I don't see that our deferring until next month, if that's a time that you would be able to assess truly that you don't need that space for deterrent storage.
Well, it's, we would rather, again, we need the confidence to be able to move forward with full design. We can't be designing grading and utilities and everything else without confidence that we have approval to remove the trees that need to be removed, right? So in order to allow us, to help us to move forward, and the church, could we agree to on the removal of everything except 287 and 284? Should we need 287 and 84, we can come back to you with those two trees once we have, you know, everything else, utilities, grading,
right.
and everything else. You know, that's.
But again, because if they need,
Needs us to do everything else that we need to get the information back to you.
yeah, well, the answer is yes, that's the fact at hand. Because your detention plan might end up telling you, oh, they gotta go. Dan, you want to help me with a wording on this motion? Or
Say
shall I
again?
just, I said, you want to help me with the wording on this motion?
Already got a motion on the floor. I think, Nathaniel made a motion already. That needs
I
to
said
be
we
dealt with.
could. I didn't
Oh, I
actually.
thought you made the motion.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that says we approve removal of all trees except 287 and 284 pursuant to the need for their removal.
And can we add that, the mitigation for 271 would be the replacement of a 6-inch plus DBH cedar tree? Instead of the hassle of removing it, we just replace a real.
Sure. That's a great idea. Thank you.
So in addition to the need for those trees removed being established, also to mitigate for the 10-inch cedar tree. elsewhere on the property.
I'll second that.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Or modified, my motion passes.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Oh, you're welcome. Good to see.
Yeah,
Good to see you again, man. Any other discussion or concerns or with respect to any of this today? That's a no. That's a no. Any more no's? Can I have a motion?
Move to adjourn.
Second it. All those in favor of the motion say aye.